What are we doing? You hear all this talk today about how we're not doing enough, how climate change is inevitable, how policy is moving too slowly, how we have to stop doing what we were doing before we hit 2 degrees Celsius or even better, 1.5, right? But it can feel overwhelming at times. Like it's never going to happen and we're just doomed. But I'm here to show you 10 companies that are making a difference right here, right now. People might tell you that things aren't looking so good for the earth and that we aren't doing enough. And don't get me wrong, we have a long way to go and there's still a lot of things that we need to do. But I'm here to shed some positivity because I want to show you these 10 companies that are making a difference in plastic recycling, in the circular economy, in sustainability, in green energy. So watch all the way to the end because you don't want to miss a single one of these amazing companies. And if any spark your interest, check out their full interview in the description below.
Understand what they want. What is it that you can do that makes their life easier? Speak to them. Try and understand what it is that they're really struggling with. We had one customer who had a lovely expression. They said to us, "Yes, Neil, we need more green stuff." So I was like, cool, green stuff, I can do that. And when I dug a little bit deeper into what they wanted to know, what they really wanted was this was the team that was calculating the annual emissions of carbon for the business. What they wanted was data. They wanted to know the simple data that would enable them to put the right numbers into their end of year calculations. So I said, hey guys, what would it sound like if we just gave you a zero and we told you that we can guarantee that all the electricity that goes into your public electric vehicle charged stations that you're using for your vehicles is zero emissions. It's all renewables backed. They were like, oh, that'd be so easy. So one of our ambitions, and I'm hoping we'll be able to announce it formally fairly soon, is that all of our electricity, wherever you consume it on a public charging network with Paua, will be zero emissions. And hey presto, 100 times zero, 1,000,000 times zero is still zero. So for those guys, they got more green stuff. They got the zero.
Public wants EVs. I think that, so the mind share, the mindset is there. I think the big disappointment for me and others, the public opinion is we've lagged creating EV jobs. And I think where Green Island EV comes in and we fill a gap is that we are the only EV OEM, original equipment manufacturer, headquartered in New York, focused on New York, employing New Yorkers to build EVs in New York. Now, I want to be crystal clear with you here. We are ambitious to go beyond New York. We want to go first to Boston, to Buffalo, Montreal to New York City. That's our core focus. That's our backyard. We'll win that first. But without question, we have plans to go national and then eventually sell our units globally. So what our purpose is to lead the charge in New York State to bring EV jobs back to our state. We're buying EVs. Why are we importing EVs from other countries, other states? That shouldn't happen. We are fully capable of manufacturing our own EVs. We just so happen to be first.
So we want to be the guys that enable solar to be accessible by anyone by using digitization and the next step, tokenization. We democratize both the access and ownership of solar so that millennials anywhere in the world, millennials or Zoomers, can own a bit of solar by buying a token and getting a yield from that token with a little bit of blockchain cryptography. The real mission is to really provide that democratization of both the access and the ownership of solar. We think solar should be available for the people and not necessarily for big corporates only. And you'll see that there's going to be a buildup where if you don't have a roof, how can you own solar? So if you're an apartment dweller, how are you going to own a bit of solar? The only way you could do that would be to own maybe part of a solar company through equities. And with our system, we're giving you property rights via a token for the access and ownership of solar.
Bob thought and deliberated a while, and he thought, well, what I can come up with is a fantastic cooling solution that increases the efficiency of existing chiller systems by around 60%. I can add a massive amount of capacity to that, maybe around 5,000 litres to a 100-litre system, and this will create a battery. And I can add artificial intelligence to that to allow users to be told when they should charge up the system, i.e. when electricity prices are cheap. And all of that together could probably decrease cooling costs by around 80%. And this is what Energy Vault is.
Nobody actually is paying for this. Developers are able to make more money by going to consumers because their other, let's call it the opportunity cost, their other opportunity is to go B2B to Fortune 500 companies. Fortune 500 companies will want a much deeper discount than what we can offer consumers. But I'm not here to help Fortune 500 companies save a little bit of money. It doesn't move their needle. It's not going to change their business. It changes significantly if a household can get 1 or 2 months of free electricity a year on average, depending how much sunlight there was. That could be $80, $100, even $200, depending on the size of your bill. It's not life-changing. Nobody is going to become suddenly rich from this. But it's going to a restaurant with your kids once or twice more a year. It could going to an amusement park or a movie or something like that. So it could be very helpful if you go to the consumer, which is exactly why we're here.
One of the key issues on how we are addressing housing is we started off, I was trying to figure out what can we do? How can we step outside the box? We have all these traditional homes we've been with for the last 50, 60 years. They've done a great job, but now it's time to move on, just like anything else in life. So we started looking at modular homes, and I was kind of looking at this technology, and about 6 years ago, I was kind of like, this is kind of neat. Well, another couple of years went by, I started looking more into it, and next thing you know, I was like, this is kind of like Lego. It's kind of like Tetris, and it's inexpensive. And I was like, we could really do something with this. So I started looking at other people and what they're doing with it. I was like, you know what? If we take the shipping containers, which we can ship anywhere because they're containers, we can break them down, we can put them in pieces. Let's add solar to it, and let's add an aquaponics system to it. So it just became a home. How can we make our homes better? How can we make our homes of a higher value, but more cost effectively? So when I started looking at the houses on the market and seeing how much it costs to build one of these, I was like, oh my God, this is like a no-brainer. I mean, why are we not bringing this out onto the market and solving the problem of people not being able to afford homes and getting them off grid if they want to go off grid?
So unless it is there, nothing survives. So the key thing is to make people realize that this is one-stop solution. It also is said that the soil has a capacity to absorb the carbon emissions that are coming out from the industrial economies. So they played one very important part in this step against global warming and a lot of other initiatives taken by the world bodies. So soil plays a major role in this. I mean, they absorb the carbon emissions and 3 times more than what the plant needs for its survival. So the carbon emissions are stored inside the soil, which these organisms use to convert them into carbon sugars for their survival. They survive on the carbon. So it retains the carbon inside the soil for a longer period. And it's a dual purpose. One is providing the required nutrients and the food for the life to thrive. And the other thing is reducing the carbon emissions. That's what we all are talking about. So it's high time we spread the awareness, and high time we ask the nations to make policy documents in this direction and implement them, irrespective of which government is in force. So that is the initiative and objective behind it.
So, I mean, my dream was always like, how can I go beyond the polyurethanes and beyond the PVCs and still have a belt that is like really strong? And I always imagined myself as using something from nature, right? And I always looked to bamboo as the model. So bamboo grows a meter a day. And then it was in 2019 that a customer contacted me and put me onto a company in Mexico called Deserto. And they have found out a way to make this material out of cactus. So cactus leather it was introduced to the world in 2019 in Milan, Italy at this trade show called Linea Pel. And it feels just like leather. And it's quite amazing because the cactus plant, it needs hardly any water to grow, and it can grow in the hottest climates on Earth. So what they do is they cut off the mature leaf, but then it grows back in 6 to 8 months, right? So it's like just giving the haircut to the cactus plant. And yeah, it's really strong. We've been testing it for over a year. So it seems like it's a really great product.
What has been your experience with reaching out to people on LinkedIn? What has been successful?
Pretty much it's this building of this personal connection. It's like, why are you even connecting with them in the first place? Is there some commonality you have with them that's the reason that you're connecting? And then acting like a person, having a note with it that you're just a person writing a note to them saying, hey, I see we both are interested. Maybe we could help each other. And just be a real authentic person through the whole experience. Like when they're just saying thanks for connecting or whatever, and that might even just be a button push, but every sort of human interaction with them is what you want to kind of focus on, which goes to when they write out a message and message you in LinkedIn, you want to connect with them as a human. What works is a personal connection. When they hear your voice, they could pick up things just from hearing your voice on the phone.
Brand is an experience, and that's something important to keep in mind. It's not one single thing. Brand is everything. I think a lot of people, when they think of branding, they think of a logo, a design, aesthetics, visual appeal, etc. But and I'll talk about that more later as well, but it's so much more than that. It's really an all-encompassing idea of what a customer perceives of your product, service, or company. And I mean, that's why I say brand is everything, because it truly is. It's regardless of what industry you're in, whether you're in a sustainability industry or environmental or a different kind of business, you have to service a customer, right? But it's more than that. It's an experience, and it's how a customer ends up perceiving you. And that's why I say it's so much more than aesthetics or visual, more than a logo, right? So for us, when customers come to us, a lot of times they come to us, let's say, for a logo or website design or social media work, but they end up always coming back for a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh consecutive time for other services, because they see after that first initial impression, the brand is so much more than just those visual effects. It's the overall totality of the perception the customer has with your product and how that makes them feel too.
So what did you think? Pretty amazing, right? And that was only 1 minute of each of those interviews. But there is so much more that they explained to me and they talked about during their full interviews. So make sure that you find the interview that you would like to watch down in the description below. And the best way to support these companies and to make the world a greener place is by liking this video, sharing it with anybody you know who you think might be interested in this as well, and to let everyone know that there are great things going on out there. Climate change is not all depressing. There are some great companies and great people doing amazing work. So spread this message, get everybody excited, because there is so much potential for what we have here. We have so much work to do, but there is so much good that is going on. So do your part, make the world a greener place, and share this video.